Welcome to Grief Road. I am here in San Jose, California, and I am with one of my favorite people, my sister Monica, who is a business owner here in Los Gatos, California. Now, we all know there have been so many strains on businesses because of COVID, as well as a lot of the unrest. I know there's been protests in Los Gatos as well. And so as we're talking about things that impact us, and especially as it connects to grief, a lot of business owners are going through grief right now.
Absolutely.
With the struggles that they're having in their businesses, and business doesn't look the same anymore.
No.
Revenue doesn't look the same anymore. So I thought it would be great to interview you and talk a little bit about kind of how God's led you into this business, and then what's happening right now with your business, and what gives you the strength to keep going.
Okay. Thanks, Tiffany. I feel like any business that you're in is a platform for ministry, and to whoever you have, whether it's a staff or you're an individual with a client, that is your ministry time right there. And my pastors have said that numerous times to me, and it reminds me I might not be a pastor on a pulpit or a priest or a deacon, but I am a voice for Christ in my chair with my clients and the people he surrounds me with in my business.
And I would say even in that capacity, kind of a therapist.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot
you
of
hairdressers
people,
know that.
Yeah, a lot of people, men and women, come to you with a lot on their hearts about what's happening in their lives, and so you have that opportunity doing hair,
absolutely,
to minister to them,
and be their confidant, and to ponder it and keep it to yourself, encourage them. That's what we are. We're water. We water our people. Making them beautiful inside and out, and they leave refreshed. And ultimately, as you asked me what led me to be a stylist and have a shop, I never planned to have a shop. But my goal was I wanted to be somewhere that a client would come in, or individual, and I could water them, fill them up, and make them feel beautiful outside, but also make them have hope on the inside.
I love that. And right now, so many people are just thirsty.
They are.
So many people are parched for good things, hope. Yeah. And so right now, maybe, especially with COVID, where everything was closed, and people couldn't get a haircut.
Absolutely.
And people people were at home not feeling confident either.
No.
What you offer people is so important with their confidence.
Yes. And for hairdressers out there and people that have their own business, I just want to encourage you that ultimately, just like the quotes that people encourage me with, God is still on the throne through COVID. God is still in control of COVID. And ultimately, He's our hope. And this is a really good time as business owners and as individuals to say, God, give me the strength and lead me to be creative in my business when everything around us is saying, no, give up.
It would be easy, and a lot of people do give up.
Yes.
And for some of you, I'll be quite honest, some of you, it may be the time where you feel directed, like this is the end of a season. But for other people, it may just be that you need to be prayerful about, where do I need to pivot in my business? What do I need to do differently? And pray for that courage.
Yes, absolutely. Some things, as people have shared with me, life isn't always fair. And life will bring you a lot of lemons. And it's a very simple quote, but make lemonade with it. Find out what way in your creativity, you can still fight for your business. You can still be a light and water your people. There is hope. And again, I want to emphasize, what keeps me encouraged, what keeps my foot solid on the ground, is that ultimately God knows all this. God knew COVID was coming. God knew that we'd be struggling as business owners in this time. And to encourage you, God knew you'd be on the earth in this time. For such a time as this, God knew you would be born and face this. So he has given you the character, the strength, even though you don't feel sometimes you're strong, but you can do all things through God, Christ who strengthens you. And he will lead you to connections, people, opportunities to sustain you,
even
and show his
innovation,
power.
even
Yes.
innovation to do maybe something that no one in the marketplace is doing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So
Creativity.
ideas. Yeah. How do you not get angry? You know, we in your state, as in many other states, things have had to close down. And how do you still have a joyful attitude or a hopeful attitude when it would be so easy to get angry at the powers that be? How do you keep moving forward and having hope?
Well, ultimately, even Christ at one time had righteous anger. Anger is part of one of the emotions that God's given us, but it's what we do with it. When I feel injustice, that's a real popular word right now, injustice. When I feel it's unjust that us as business owners can't work to provide for our family, for our homes, for our business we've worked our life to create, to us it feels like it's injustice. But ultimately, we have to give it back to God. And when I find myself very angry, it's an emotion God's given us. I get in my quiet place and say, God, I need your power. I need your strength. I need to forgive, because unforgiveness only affects you, not the people around you. It destroys your own life and the things you created. And say, give me the strength to find a way to create a better place in this chaotic world of injustice when it isn't fair.
It's so fascinating. You look at people that have all sorts of physical challenges, paralysis, things like that. And that's not just either. It's not even across the board. And we can really get hung up there and put our lives on hold as if we're waiting for it to be just. And in this life, it's not going to be just.
Never
it's not going to
even.
be even. It's not going to be, and there's a lot of things that won't be made right in this life. And I think when we just say, okay, I will do my best, and have that standard of excellence for yourself. Brandon Burchard talks about that necessity where you have this internal drive and you have a necessity that things that you do and things that you participate in need to be that standard of excellence. Like, I'm shooting for that. I'm not going to worry about what's not just.
No.
And
it's all
forgive
about
that.
your character and what you do in injustice. And as people have shared with me, God's not concerned about the situation. God is concerned about your character and what are you doing through this. You know, and this, again, it reminds me, okay, Monica, chill. Get in the Word and get your peace back and say, okay, God, what do I do with all this injustice and unfairness that we as business owners are feeling like? And what can I do better to sustain, to create, to new ideas, know people of changing their career path through this? I believe that there is creativity out there to make a new way. And for the hope is God is in control of our business. He knew I would be a hairdresser and a business owner through COVID. He knew that before I was even born.
Wow.
He says he knits you in your mother's womb. And so I need to know, if he knew I'd be on this earth, what do I create through this injustice time when they're shutting me down and they're saying you can't work?
And you've done some really great pivots. Your clients contact you for kits now. And you've driven, instead of being in the shop,
and many other hairdressers too.
You've actually been delivering special kits for them, just what they need at their homes. So,
and it's a good one. And then I've known other hairdressers done really great in social media. You know, it's made a new platform for them to get out there and be stretched. Everything's a stretching to be on social media, and it's become a voice out there. And I love that. I love seeing some of my sisters that are hairdressers and salon owners be creative and finding new ways to, in this season, how to be a business owner.
Yeah, and how to have impact.
Yes.
You use that term watering. I
Yeah.
love that you are watering your clients, that they can leave renewed and refreshed.
Yeah.
So if
That's
you're
really the only reason I really wanted to have a salon. In the
I
busy
love that.
Silicon Valley, people need hope, need to be refreshed, and leave feeling good, not only outside, but inside. That there
Love
is
that.
hope in this world.
So when you, especially during this time, you know, you've got someone in the chair and you're pouring into their life, what pours into yours? How do you refresh yourself if you are the waterer in your career? Does that make sense?
I take the example of Jesus. Jesus took time alone and separated himself to get filled. And so for some of you are runners, some of you work out and are amazing in the way you train to it's your outlet. Some of you are writers and or readers. And I myself go to my quiet time and do the things that make me be filled. And that's how I'm filled, to be able to give out to others. If I don't do that, I cannot be that hairdresser or that person that God called me to be when I have someone in my chair. I have to myself take the time, like Christ, who separated himself, to be strong, to be out there for everybody.
It's an interesting thing. I think of massage therapy as well as hairdressers, right? Where it's really important for you to be quiet in your soul to provide that care for someone else. So what are the things that quiet your soul? With all the, right now there's so much noise on social media, noise on the news. What is it that quiets you so you can be in that good energy when people come to you?
Being an artist, I love to create. So I'll find something whether it's gardening, definitely music. I am a lover.
And a dancer.
Dancer. I was a coach for 30 years. Just to express myself and to be filled. I love my positive worship music, whether it's rock, whether it's soul, gospel. When I get filled is I put on my music and I get quiet, I sketch, I draw, I write, and just I'm still. And that is very important to get filled. And then I wait to hear with that instinct inside that we're all born with. Shut your brain off and listen. What's your gut feeling? For some people, they call it the gut feeling. Some people, it's called the Spirit of God in you. And wait and think, what am I getting? Okay, be still, Monica. Don't react. Or, Monica, I need you to step out and do this. But it's not logical, God. Yes, I need you to go and encourage this person and share that he's loved and you sense that he's not in a good place. But those are just things to water people, and I think that's how I get full. My quiet time, my music, and being creative for us artists, whether it's taking a mannequin, cutting hair, or gardening, or designing a new room, or sketching, or writing. I know many writers that they just pour out their soul in writing, and I think it's wonderful. That's
I
how
love
feel.
that you talked about waiting. Waiting. Our culture is very productivity driven
And anxiety.
driven, and so we can be really reactive as opposed to waiting for that inspiration to come. Who should I serve? Where should I serve? How should I serve? And that waiting and letting those promptings come and following those. I think right now, if we're trying to run our business on logic, I don't think we're going to get very far right now, because nothing about what we're experiencing today is logical. So I would say the best piece of advice I would have to a business owner and running my own business as well is really get quiet, listen to those creative promptings, wait for God to speak in your life. You know, in the scriptures it talks about he makes me as sure-footed as a deer.
Yes.
And you think about deer or rams on the side of a cliff, right? How they are able to navigate even just little, you know, little plateaus, little pieces of the rock. And I think right now it may be a little choppy for a while.
Very choppy.
And there may not be logic guiding some of your best moves, some of your best pivots and innovations.
Yeah. But he will provide, and it's a great time. I mean, there's a shaking. It's a shaking on the whole earth, on what's your confidence in. And a lot of times God will bring us to a corner, not because he's a mean God, because he's a loving God, to say, let me move, let me provide, whether it's you got accepted with the EDD, or you got the PPP, or a friend sends you a check in the mail. One thing I learned through COVID was the kindness of individuals. Some of my clients that I did not expect the things they've done through this really challenging time for us business owners. And I thought, wow, there is still kindness on this earth, and there's still kind people that want to be there for individuals. And that's very rewarding. Gives you faith in the human race.
Yes, which we need.
Faith in the human
right
race.
now.
Yeah.
As you were moving through and navigating through the PPP and the working with the banker, and what were the most important factors for you doing something you'd never done before?
Never. I am not.
And
you know me, sister. I'm not a computer person.
Yeah. So what were the things that really helped you move through that process? Because I think there may be some business owners who are saying, but I have to jump through this hoop or that hoop, and I'm not sure how to do it. What was your experience, and what advice would you give them if they need to ask for help?
2 bullet points for me.
Okay.
It was like David against Goliath, and for you, some of you believers understand what that story, little David against the giant. And he was the most unlikely person, and that's me, the most unlikely person. And I would get on my computer and I would first pray, God, I'm weak. I need your help. I'm going up to the chief. I'm not going to go through steps. I'm going to the chief and saying, I need your help. And second was persistence. And that's what my dad taught me. Even if you have to stalk. Be a stalker.
Stalk someone.
You knock and knock and knock. Hey, how are you today? Hear anything from the SBA? Or hey, but in kindness, you know.
And you did.
Kindness.
You actually went
many times to different banks, talk to them, people that are knowledgeable. When I don't have a knowledge on an area, I personally go to that person I know that's experienced in that area and ask, hey, can you give me some tips or advice? And I found lots of friendly people on the way up to get my PPP that were willing to help. I would email the SBA, say, I know you're overwhelmed, I know you're busy, do you have an answer for me?
See, I think that creates favor. When you go in with humility and you say, I need help, I need to save my business, I am doing everything I possibly can.
And thank you.
And I have questions, and thank you for giving me the time. And especially when you're face to face with those decision makers, they're the gatekeepers.
Absolutely.
They can see you're a person and that you're being so humble.
Yeah, it's a humility in it. To say, hey, I don't want to lose my business. I'm so sorry that you're stressed too. I know it's not a lot of times it's not your fault that you don't have the answer yet, but please, I'll text you tomorrow and maybe you have the answer tomorrow. And I found people really, some would get frustrated, some would get upset, but instead of reacting in that sense, I'd say, hey, I'm just trying to provide for my family and my home. And then they would open their hearts and want to help. Otherwise, I'd knock on another door. Persistence is trusting in God and praying before you get going through all this, and persistence and networking. That's how I got all that I got in that area. That
feeling of grief that maybe 2020 hasn't been what we all thought it was. You know, we were talking this morning about goals for 2020 and how, you know, it's hard to lay that down and just
Yeah.
say, you know, I had wanted this to happen or this way,
Yes.
and it didn't happen.
Absolutely. For everyone out there, we know we did not expect any of this. And in the way it went around,
Yeah.
it came forth. And everything that I had goals this year to achieve was put on hold because of our pandemic and COVID and the strictness in our businesses and our lives.
Yeah.
And it was a lot.
So how do you, that feeling of disappointment or time lost, you know, that real feeling of grief, and some people that we know, different business owners, have actually had to close their doors.
Yes.
How do you resolve those feelings of
Disappointment,
grief and loss? Yeah.
Again, I don't feel that God is my crutch. He's my hope. And knowing when I have no control about things that I've lost and grieve over, and I do myself have a lot of regrets in many areas that I wished things turned out different. I still give them to God and say, you're the ultimate person. I know when I'm not here no more and I stand before you, I can ask you, why this? Why that? And some of us are blessed to see it. Maybe 2 years from now, you will see, I'm here because this door's shut. And some of us won't till we see the future in heaven. I call it heaven. You know, when I'm in heaven, I will know why. But there's times where we see it here, and that's so rewarding. That's how I deal with grief. I look back at that shut door and go, I would not be here today if that door wasn't shut. And trust him. Say, I surrender all this.
Love that. So, as you've gotten some golden nuggets in this conversation, we know many of you are going through lots of changes and heaviness with COVID, and we just want to encourage you today.
Yes.
And just, again, recognize that it may not be logical, probably won't be logical, but you can be guided and trust that God knows where you are exactly today and wants to take you to a better place. You know, I think that verse, you know, I have a plan for you, a plan to prosper you and not harm you. So thanks for being with us today, and remember that life is a journey, grief is a journey, and God writes straight with crooked lines, and there's a plan in all this. So thanks for being with us today, and until next time.
Can we say a little prayer for the people
Oh,
out there?
beautiful. I love it.
Okay.
Yes.
Heavenly Father, we just come before you, and we thank you for those who are listening and watching. I pray that you would give them water for their parched souls. Give them encouragement. Bring people, situations, angels, ideas, creativity in their lives to encourage them that you're with them, you're guiding them, and you're directing them. We thank you that in this hard times when things are so unstable on this earth, you're still the God on the throne. And I pray you bless all these business owners, all those who are lost and grieving, and give them the ideas and creativity for the next chapter in their lives. And we thank you for that. In your name, Lord Jesus. Amen.
Oh, that was perfect. That was so sweet. My heart is watered. So, thank you, sister.